Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski, the original first numero uno campaign manager for the Donald Trump for President campaign. I, for a very long time, and still to everybody, credit Corey with having engineered one of the biggest political upsets in the history of politics of all time ever. That was the Trump campaign. He was there from the beginning. He's the first hire. He turned the lights on in the damn place, and I was one of the first people with him, so that was a lot of fun. And now he's got his own firm, but he speaks to the president on almost a daily basis, so he's very, very close to him. And he's the author of a new book that you got to read, must read, because I'm in it. It's called Let Trump Be Trump. Now, you can get Let Trump Be Trump real easy. You can get it by going to Amazon or at your favorite bookstore. It's a must-read, very well written, by the way, and it's a lot of fun. Let Trump Be Trump. It'll give you a lot of insight there as well. Corey Lewandowski, good to have you with us, man.
John, it's great to be back on the show that called it first.
That's right. We did call it first. First
the
one
first
ever.
One, John. The first one.
Ever.
I'll never forget.
That's right. That's right. We were the first, and
John, that was almost 3 years ago, by the way. Okay,
that was in
3 years ago.
Can you imagine that?
March of 2015 that you
That's
called
right.
it first when nobody else thought. March of 15, before Trump was even a candidate, you said if he gets in, he's going to win, and you've been there ever since.
Well, I tell you what, thanks for bringing that up, and that was right. It was March of 2015 when we talked, and I said that to him right on the air. I said, if you get in, you're going to win, and I told you that also. And, yeah, it's almost 3 years. It's hard to believe, isn't it, that was 3 years ago?
Well, John,
right?
I think we've changed the world, and we've done it in the right way because the alternative was going to be a disaster. And you saw it because you understood what the Trump train and the Trump movement was all about early, and many, many people didn't. And what I talk about in the book is those early days when all the political pundits, what we call the geniuses, right, said we never had a chance. 16 Republican candidates in the field that Donald Trump just sheer outworked through his veracity, through his desire to win, and then the general election against the Clinton cabal. And, again, if you look at the book, the first few words in that book are the professional pundits telling us that Donald Trump's chances are nearing zero to be the president of the United States on the day of the election. And here's where we are today, a year later.
It's unbelievable. And you look at the accomplishments right now economically, Corey, because we can get into foreign policy and some of those there, but he has become the deregulation president of all time. He got the biggest tax cut passed since Reagan. Some say it's actually, if you look at the percentage cuts, it's actually bigger. And you look at right now, highest consumer confidence, highest business confidence, stocks up higher than ever, set records, people's retirement setting records for people that are in the employment market, lowest in employment in 4 decades. People now that are coming back into the employment market that have checked out since 2007. $3 trillion coming back from overseas. Business optimism, investments, bonuses, wages up, plants in Michigan by Chrysler being opened. I mean, it goes on. A resurgence in clean coal, a resurgence in energy. I mean, the accomplishments are mind-boggling. Yet you turn on the news and all you get is Trump's that racist. What have you ever envisioned anything as ridiculous as we're seeing now?
Well, John, if you look at the policies of what he has been able to achieve, and you've just outlined a bunch of them, but you also have to remember African-American unemployment is the lowest of ever recorded, okay, right now, which means he is doing things for the inner city because Barack Obama failed as a president to help the African-American community. Hispanic unemployment, lowest it's been. These are the things that the candidate talked about. Remember his famous line, "What the hell do you have to lose?" He's gone and delivered on the promises. So as it relates to policies, even the liberal media cannot argue with the success that he's had. I just listened to on the beginning of your show, the Dow Jones futures is up 200 and change. We may hit, 26,000 today? I mean, that's how hot this market has been. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago we hit 25,000. Now, you have to look at the real wage growth. That number is through the roof. Consumer confidence through the roof. Deregulations, cutting regulations so businesses can grow. But what you hear from the mainstream media every day is Donald Trump is a racist. Donald Trump doesn't like people. Donald Trump is a bad leader. But they can't argue the policies. And, you know, John, I hate to tell you, I saw your interview the other night with Don Lemon, and I was so insulted that he took you off the air like that for someone who said something which was so right, which is if you want to call our president a racist, then you better have the facts to back it up. Because when Barack Obama was the president of the United States, he said something very similar about the country of Libya, and there was no outrage. There was no media hype about it. No one called Barack Obama a racist because it's what I call fake outrage. It's the fake news and the fake outrage, and I saw what Don did, and it wasn't right. And I'll tell you, John, you're a better man than I was because I wouldn't have apologized to him when I watched it.
Well, I tell you what, I guess he took offense to the fact that I didn't like his narrative, and I said it was an easy, lazy position to take because you don't have the facts. And I think it was. I mean any disrespect to him. That's not my style. But this is a very lazy argument, okay? Trump says something, and rather than dig into the facts and find out what is going on, they simply say racist, racism. And look, anybody can do that. It takes 5 minutes. If you really want to dig in and find out what exactly is going on and why the president is in this room negotiating, and what he was saying is, look, we don't need people from countries that have a history of being underdeveloped, uneducated, without skill, with tin horn dictators that impoverish their people. That doesn't do anything to add to the prosperity of the country. And Trump didn't run to be the president of Haiti. He ran to be the president of America and to protect American workers. And so you bring these people in without a skill and without education, and one of two things happens, Corey. They either drive down wages, which further screws the U.S. worker, or they go on some kind of a government entitlement, and we've already got $20 trillion in debt. How does that make any sense?
Well, look, it's called America First. And I know this drives people crazy, but it's America First. We're the greatest country in the world, and the highest honor we can bestow upon somebody is to make them a citizen of this great country. And your family and my family and every other family came here and did it legally and went through the process and said, you know what, we're going to contribute to society. Look, where I grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts, John, I write about this, you know, we were a melting pot, as so many others were. And my family and my mother's family, I'm a seventh-generation American now, God bless them, they came down from Canada, and there was a little community called Little Canada. And I don't think you can say that anymore, but that's what it's called. It's called Little Canada. And everyone spoke French, and they said, you know what, my grandparents still spoke French every day. And they said to my mother, you're going to speak English because you're in this country. And that's what they did. And my grandparents, you know, and their families all learned to speak English because that's what you do here. And what Donald Trump is saying is, let's have a process where we know who's coming in. Let's, number one, control our borders because we're a sovereign country. Number two, let's have a system so we know not just anybody comes, not chain migration, which is 44% now of our immigration process, which means you just have a relative who lives in the country and you get to come in. But let's have a system in place that makes sure that the right people are coming who are adding value. I don't understand why anybody on the right or the left thinks that's such a crazy idea. I fundamentally don't understand it.
It's an emotional argument to say you just want to take anybody in because of past policies 100 years ago when the country had a shortage of labor. And so we needed people to come in to help industrialize the United States. That was a century ago. Now things have changed. Canada's figured out. Australia's figured out. And here's what they said. They want a merit-based system that says we do an economic analysis and we figure out the areas of employment need that we have, because we want to be sure that people that want to come into the country are going to be able to contribute to the society economically, get a job, get a career, contribute, and improve prosperity for everybody. And so that's what it's based on, a skill. If we need pipe fitters and somebody in Nigeria wants to come to the United States and they're a pipe fitter, they're going to get priority. I mean, it's simple. It's simple math because we need pipe fitters. So that's what a merit-based system is. Doesn't have anything to do with race or color. It has to do with economics. And it has to do with a rising tide lifts all boats for everybody. And this is what the other side just cannot grasp. They can't understand. I mean, if we let everybody in, the country would simply collapse. How tough is this for people to grasp?
John, the globalists don't care about what's best for America. They care what's best for the world is the difference, okay? It's a fundamentally different view. And if you go back and you look at this campaign, which, has now been over for a year, Donald Trump on, I believe it's Saturday, will have been the president of the United States for a year. They're still arguing about the campaign and talking about what he's done in the campaign. The difference is what he's done in the campaign, he's delivering on, John. And he has to build the wall. We have to have a sovereign. We're a sovereign nation. We have to have a secure border on the southern part of our country, like all these other countries do. But look at the accomplishments of this administration in the first year. Don't even question, Neil Gorsuch, who went through so quickly and he got no credit for. Nobody gives him credit for the release of a prisoner in an Egyptian jail that he personally negotiated that Barack Obama left behind. No one gives him credit for the deregulation. No one gives him credit for the tax cuts. No one gives him credit for any of these things because they don't want to see him be successful. And the narrative that I hear now every day is that the House and the Senate are going to lose, and it's going to be because of Donald Trump. They're going to lose the majorities. Look, I don't believe that. Do I think it's going to be difficult in the 2018 midterm elections? I do. Not because of Donald Trump. It's because the candidates who are running aren't supporting his agenda, and the people of this country are tired of politicians who go to Washington and lie to them for 30 years.
No question about it. So, Corey, let's get to the midterms. I know you're going to be involved in it. How does the White House political office turn this around and maintain a majority in both houses? Because we both know if the Democrats win, they're going to impeach the president in 90 days. Doesn't matter what the charges are. They can say they don't like the way he makes a peanut butter sandwich. They'll find something. So what do you do here?
Well, so, John, the president's going to Pennsylvania on Thursday of this week to help campaign for an open seat in Pennsylvania. And why that's important is because right now the Republicans have announced that 32 members of the House are either not running for re-election or are seeking other office, either retirements or running for another office. The problem is the Democrats only have to win 24 seats back in order to take back the House. Historically, the midterm elections will yield a candidate in office, the president's first term, historically over the last 100 years, loses 40 seats, which means on paper it looks like it's going to be very difficult. And I don't take any credence in the elections of the governor of New Jersey and the governor of Virginia last year, because I think those are outliers. But I do think the special election in Pennsylvania, which is actually a seat which has been held by a Republican, but is technically a Democrat district. It's a labor district, but it's a Democrat district by registration, is one to watch very closely. And if by some chance the Republicans lose that seat, we're going to have some real problems. And the White House political operation, and I've been very critical, as you know, John, I don't believe has done enough to make sure the president is out on the road where I think he's the very best campaigner, where his message is the strongest, out talking about this. And look, some things are outside the White House's control. We lost a good recruitment candidate in North Dakota against Heidi Heitkamp the other day because Kramer decided he wasn't going to run, and he's going to go back and run for his House seat. That puts us at a disadvantage. We lost Josh Mandel through a sickness for his wife in Ohio, which was a good candidate for the U.S. Senate in Ohio. And so, there are some disadvantages that we've come across, but we've got the White House has a real inflection point here. And I think if they don't want to double down and join with the House and the Senate members to be out actively campaigning for the next 8 to 9 months so that this midterm election does not follow the historical pattern, then, if they don't do that, it's going to be a real problem. I've been very critical of it. I hope the president gets on the road. I want to see him on the road. I think he's a fantastic campaigner. I love when he's behind the podium doing these giant rallies like we've seen in Pensacola and so many other places. But kid yourself not. If the White House doesn't get on the road and do these things and doesn't get on the road and talk about the success that they have had in the first year, this will be a referendum on the president, and the Democrats are exceptionally motivated right now to go out and turn out and win. And what you said, John, is so true. If the Democrats take back the House, if they win 25 seats in the House and take control, it is Speaker Nancy Pelosi, It is impeachment proceedings against the president, and it is the end of an agenda of putting America first, because the Democrats have a very different philosophy.
I mean, that's just the bottom line. Look, Corey Lewandowski, we need you there running the political office in the White House. What are the prospects of you? You know, I know you've got a big company now and things are going fabulous, but you're also one that believes in moving the country forward, and you've sacrificed your family and everything else and time on this campaign. How do we get Corey Lewandowski back in the White House, or in the White House, I should say?
You know, John, I'm so blessed. I've had such an amazing ride, having helmed the Trump campaign through 38 victories of the primaries and helped him secure more votes than any candidate in the history of the Republican Party, including Eisenhower, who happened to win World War II, so he was doing okay. But look, that's a decision that only the president can make. I believe I would do anything the president asked me to do. I'm a very loyal guy. But being on the outside, from me, has been very rewarding, because I can do and say things that if I went into that building, I couldn't do. And look, they can take my advice or not take my advice. I'm a guy who I think I know the president fairly well. I know in my opinion, the mood of the electorate fairly well. I saw something like you did, John, very early on, that the country wanted to change, and we helped steer that change with an amazing candidate. And if the president were to call me and say, Corey, I want you to come in this White House, and I want you to do something for me, there's nothing I don't think I would do if that's what he asked me to do. Now, they say, Corey, I want you to stay on the outside, and I can do your radio show, and I can go in and say and do things on television that you can't do as a government employee. I'm very happy to do that too. But I do think I know the candidate, I know the president, and I know how much he loves being in front of the people. And it is not the job of the staff collectively to keep the president from the American people. He's great at being out there. He's his greatest messenger. Let Trump be Trump.
All right. And with that, we're out of time. And I want to encourage all of our listeners, you got to get this book by Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie. It's really a classic. And it's just a great read. You're going to have a lot of fun reading it. It's going to bring back memories. It's going to make you laugh. Some of it's going to make you cry. But it's so well written, and I enjoyed it so much. Let Trump Be Trump by Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie. You can buy it at your favorite bookstore, or just get it right now. Just go on Amazon. Let Trump Be Trump and buy it, and you're going to have a good time with it. And because I do my show in Corey's office, anybody that buys it, if you want to drop it off at my studio and anywhere, any of my studios, get it to me. And Corey, I'm going to go out on a limb, but I'll personally give it to Corey and have him sign it, and I'll get it back to you. Deal? Is that
Happy
a deal?
to do it, John. Anytime for anyone. Absolutely.